church is a registered nonprofit organization, and everything you just said has been recorded.
Racist pastor who forgot his church was being watched. On a quiet Sunday morning in East Texas, the white wooden church on Maple Road looked peaceful, stained glass windows glowing, soft gospel music playing, and families walking in with smiles. But beneath the surface, something ugly had been growing for years. This church was led by Pastor William Harper, a man praised publicly for his sermons on love, unity, and Christian values. To outsiders, he looked like a model pastor. To some members inside the church, he was something else entirely. One Sunday, a dark-skinned woman named Naomi Johnson walked into the church for the first time. Naomi had just moved to Texas for work. She was quiet, well-dressed, respectful, and deeply religious. She chose this church because it was close to her apartment and had good online reviews. She sat near the middle row, smiled at people around her, and bowed her head when service began. At first, nothing seemed wrong. But when Pastor Harper stepped onto the pulpit, his eyes locked on Naomi, just for a second too long. Throughout the sermon, he made subtle comments. Some people come into God's house without understanding our culture. We must be careful who we allow to influence our congregation. Some members shifted uncomfortably. Others pretended not to notice. After service, Naomi approached the pastor politely to introduce herself. She said, "Good morning, Pastor. I'm new here. I really enjoyed the sermon." Pastor Harper looked her up and down, forced a tight smile, and replied, "Well, this church has a certain tradition. I hope you'll be able to fit in." Naomi was confused but stayed respectful. She thanked him and left. Over the next few weeks, Naomi kept attending. And each Sunday, the treatment got worse. She was ignored during greetings. Her hand was skipped during group prayers. And then came the comments from the pulpit. Pastor Harper began preaching about outsiders, people who don't belong, and those who bring division. Every time, his eyes drifted toward Naomi. One Sunday, things escalated. During communion, an usher quietly told Naomi that she should wait until the end, instead of joining the line with everyone else. When she asked why, the usher whispered, "The pastor said so." That was the moment Naomi realized this wasn't accidental. What Pastor Harper didn't know was that Naomi wasn't just any church member. Naomi was a civil rights attorney who had spent over a decade documenting racial discrimination, especially in religious institutions. And that morning, she had decided to record everything. The following Sunday, Naomi arrived early and sat closer to the front. Her phone was discreetly recording in her purse. During the sermon, Pastor Harper snapped. He stopped mid-preach, stared directly at Naomi, and said into the microphone, "There are people here who are disrupting the spiritual order of this church. If you don't respect how we do things here, maybe this isn't the place for you." The church fell silent. Naomi stood up calmly and said, "Pastor, are you asking me to leave because of my skin color?" Gasps filled the room. Pastor Harper stuttered, then raised his voice. "Don't twist my words. This is my church." That was his mistake. Naomi reached into her purse, pulled out her phone, and said clearly, "This church is a registered non-profit organization, and everything you just said has been recorded." Then she walked out. 2 weeks later, the video went viral. The footage showed weeks of discriminatory sermons, witnesses came forward, and former members shared similar experiences they had been too afraid to talk about. Sponsors pulled out. Donations stopped. The church board launched an investigation. Within a month, Pastor William Harper was removed from his position. The church issued a public apology. And Naomi, she filed a lawsuit that forced mandatory anti-discrimination training and leadership changes within the church. A man who preached love was exposed by the very truth he claimed to stand for. Because racism doesn't disappear in holy places. It just hides better. If this story opened your eyes, subscribe for more real stories that expose the truth. Like, comment what you think about racism in religious spaces, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one.